How y'all doing? Welcome to another Wednesday evening of the Heavy Metallurgy Album Club, joined by my co-hosts, Mr. Kellen from Killing for Company, Mr. Brainsmasher. How you guys all doing this evening?
Pleasure to be here.
6 out of 10.
Ooh, 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. Is that foreshadowing of what's to come on the ranking of this album? Let's see.
No, really close.
Well, we've put on our beginner skates and entered the ice rink to discuss the 20th album by Darkthrone from Norway. As many of you will know, the name of the album is Astral Fortress. Before we jump into all of that, everybody, thank you. We've had a very great year this year, and to support the channel, just keep doing what you're doing. Like it, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Super chats are enabled in case you feel so inclined. And please click on the links of these guys below in the description so you can go check out their channels as well.
Did you remember mine?
What's that? I remembered. Hey, I even added you from the last time too. As soon as we got done, I added it. So yeah. But anyway, we're here tonight to talk about Darkthrone, and I just brief history, because I mean, this isn't a band that should be new to anybody that listens to this style of music. But the framework for Darkthrone was set in 1986 under the name Black Death. They changed their name to Darkthrone in 1987 and released their debut demo, Land of Frost. In 88, Nocturnal Culto joins the band and appears on the A New Dimension 2-song demo. 35 years, 2 lineup alterations, and 20 full-length albums later, Darkthrone remains a fan favorite obelisk of Norwegian metal. So yeah, here we are. Been meaning to get on this for a while, and I don't know about you boys, but my impression and attitude towards this album has changed multiple times throughout the week. But let's discuss our first impressions, and we'll start with you, Kellen.
So just in general, I probably haven't listened to a Darkthrone record since Circle the Wagons. So it's been a while since I've checked in with this band. First impressions, well, the immediate thing is the album cover, which I have to say, the thumbnail for this evening, spectacular.
Ben started it off. I put the finishing touches on it.
But you see an album cover like that, and I have no idea where this is going. It seems to scream apathy. So I had no idea what was in store musically. The first impression was very stripped down, simple music, which is kind of Darkthrone's thing, but in a kind of a bit more traditional heavy metal, almost doomy slant. Initially the first song was okay, but it proved to be a major challenge this week. And once I kind of realized I was not going to be blown away by what was happening compositionally on the record, I spent a lot of time thinking about band identity and how a band like Darkthrone ages over time, and how as a fan, so I grapple with that and what I should expect from them in the future. So it was an interesting record, but a challenge for sure.
Ben, your thoughts?
God damn it. So I checked out like the half of the first single, and I was like, oh, Bathory. All right, this might be cool. And it starts off sounding like Bathory for sure. And then it just kind of drifts off. And then I was like, you know what? I don't want to hate it. Whatever. Maybe I'll hear it sometime. I didn't even listen to Eternal Hails. So like, I don't feel like I'm missing out much there. But upon listening to it after this being the prompt, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't won over. Yeah, it's just kind of there. I've got some more, specific thoughts on it, but like overall, just kind of a mediocre. It's there. Good for them.
All right. Well, for me, I'll start off first by saying that both of these albums, Old Star, Eternal Hails, in spite of all of the fan acclaim that these records kind of got. I don't get it, man. I think these albums suck, to be completely honest. And there's ever since the last Darkthrone album that I love is Hate Them. I think that's their last true black metal record. It's got that feel. The songs are clever, they're aggressive, they're cold. It's just good riffs, simple, good riffs, good album. As they went, I liked bits and pieces of all their stuff, and even the crust punk, when they changed to the crusty punk stuff. There would be songs I enjoy. I typically liked the fun, kooky Fenris songs. It sounded like a more rock-oriented Isengard, that his side project, where he's singing in that, he's singing in a melodious way, more of a shouted. Yeah, exactly. And songs that would really stand out as great. I mean, is it Darkthrone? No. Did I care that they abandoned the black metal thing? I really didn't. The thing that bothered me the most about those records were Culto's vocal change. He just started singing like the drunk guy at the bar, and I used to love his harsh, razor throat style. But these two albums, Eternal Hails and Old Star is them trying to do a Candlemass thing, but 2 riff maximum per song. It's so boring and repetitive. Eternal Hails, slight improvement, but still just kind of really lazy songwriting. When I heard the first song off of Astral Fortress, I think they released Caravan of Broken Ghosts, I want to say, was the video for the...
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it sounds to me like they're trying. It sounds like they're trying to write songs that have more than 2 riffs, and they're, it still sounds like Darkthrone, later day Darkthrone. I'm like, okay, I told myself I'd never buy another Darkthrone record. I'm buying this Darkthrone record, and I'm gonna give it a shot. First impression of it was, all right, okay, not bad. Multiple listens. I listened to about 3 or 4 times and then kind of shelved it, and like, okay, I get it now. It didn't take long to crack this egg. I get what they're doing, and improvement, but still not that great. And, this week leading up to this, I listened to it. I hate it. I listened to it today. I liked it. I listened to it the other day. I'm back and forth constantly. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's my common sense trying to fight with, what I want the album to be. I don't know if that's all part of it, but I guess
you're psyching yourself out.
Yeah, psyching myself out. But I do want to talk about the pull and privilege of a legacy band. I mean, for instance, having curated longtime fans their entire career, is it okay for a band to coast on their reputation and focus on quantity rather than quality? I mean, bands like Kiss come to mind, Darkthrone comes to mind. When I say coast, I want to say just kind of going through the motions. They kind of lost the fire years ago. They're just kind of putting out product. The spirit's gone, the muse is gone, type of thing. They're kind of just relying on, well, we're going to put this out and we're going to sell this many because we have this fan base. So I do want to talk about that. And are fans too forgiving when this happens is what another thing I want to talk about. But Kellen, we'll start with you.
So I guess the first part to that question, is it okay for a band to do this? Sure. Go ahead. If you want to coast. Like, you don't owe me anything, right? As an artist, I totally get that.
Yep.
At the same time, should you demand my respect, my attention, my money, my time? Like, no. There is a reason I haven't listened to Darkthrone in so long, and it's because for this reason. It's that I want to feel like the band is fully invested in what they're putting out. Like, I think that's not too much to ask for art, is for you to be sincerely like, this is something that is important and passionate to you. So I guess when I was thinking about this question, the idea of coasting for me was one of intention. Like, because I look at the album cover And I think like this, they clearly at this point, they cannot care, right? Like that is not an album cover. Even the ones that they had previously, that their crust punk covers had some artistry to them, right?
Oh yeah, they're cool. They're cool images,
right? So,
yeah.
But this felt like, just to me, the initial impression was they don't really care. Now, listening to the record, I don't know if I can judge the intention, right? They may feel like this is their best work ever, or they're doing something important or meaningful to them personally. But as a fan, I don't feel that way. And in terms of, other bands doing this, like, I think there's something special about, and you can tell me, I'd be interested to get your thoughts here. Like, there's something my experience with Darkthrone and getting into black metal for me, I guess a couple of decades ago now, that experience in terms of what they meant for me and what discovering black metal meant for me at that time in my life is a little bit different, right? Than, I think, categorically than what a lot of other bands, if you're just getting into Iron Maiden for the first time. I want to say there was something special about that kind of mystique. Like hearing, Under the Funeral Moon for the first time and just the impact it had on me. And I think there's a certain amount of weight and expectation that goes along with that may not apply to a band like Halloween, right? Like that is a different kind of impact. So and when I was thinking about this record and this band, I was not just up against the idea of a band necessarily having the weight of their legacy, something that they have to sort of constantly meet a standard, to live up to those records. Every great band has that. But they also have this additional aspect that I think Norwegian black metal and its legacy carries with it, which is but complicates it a bit more, is we also want that feeling that those early records gave them, or gave us, that makes it a bit more complicated for me. So I just kind of wanted to, when I thought about Coasting in that regard, I thought it was qualitatively a little bit different than a band like Kiss, or a band like Metallica. They're putting out records all the time, but I don't go into them with the same level of sort of the weight of their legacy is different to me. So that's, I guess, I just wanted to throw that out there when you're talking about Coasting and why I thought it was different.
Right. No, it makes sense. Makes sense. And really, we're looking at it. I didn't take into consideration when I came up with that question idea, the fact that Darkthrone is a band that is reset their parameters. Well, after Soulside, they went black metal, so that's a reset. After Hate Them, Sardonic Wrath, Sardonic, I can't remember the name of that damn album. Sardonic Wrath?
Yeah.
So this is like their third reset. They reset to more of a crusty punk, rock and black metal type, and now they're resetting beyond that as well. It's no longer really crusty punk anymore. It's kind of, I mean, everybody's talking, and I even saw them saying they're just trying to hail the old metal style. And I mean, for me, I listened to this record and I'm asking myself, all this old metal stuff that I still listen to, is it this boring? I mean, I'm not saying that to be funny. I mean, even though there's elements of this new, which I never did show the cover. There it is right there. There's elements of this record I do like, but the overall grand scheme of it is just so, it hardly can get out of its own way. But anyway, Ben, what are your thoughts on the Coasting idea and the
a lot. First of all, I feel weird just being in a position of like evaluating the art of one of like probably my favorite band. Yeah. Definitely my favorite black metal band. And
it's like, okay to do that. If you have ears and you buy their stuff and you listen, you can have an opinion.
Of course, yeah.
You can have an opinion. A lot of people get confused with that.
It feels weird for me to sit here and say, do better. Like your body of work is like the 10 album span from Soulside to Hate Them. who could ask for a better fucking line of a run of great albums, you know? So like that's immense. I feel like I would maybe respect them if they would have called it, 15 years ago or so. But like again, you don't owe fans anything. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But also like sometimes I put myself in a band's position, like a huge band that can sell out of all their albums every time they put one out. Like, is Fenris or Nocturnal Culto like the kind of person that's going to let down their fans by just being like, we're out, we're done? Like, I think that's got to have a lot of gravity to an artist too. So you've got to balance, like, am I still feeling creative enough with this band to still keep on trying versus do I want to let the fans down by calling it a day? That's got to be a weird position to be in, I would think. And a hard condition, I guess, to be creative under. So I feel like that's kind of got more to do with what their creativity has been doing the last couple of eras. So they're reaching out to, whatever influences them a lot. Way too tough on the Darkthrone. So there's a lot of, I think, what's been going into their albums over the last couple of albums. So like when they just did a hard turn and went to like crust punk kind of stuff, like would they have done that if they didn't have any fans, asking them to put more stuff out? I kind of don't feel like it. So they get into this kind of messy territory for me where I think like wearing the respect that you have for older bands as a badge on your shirt gives you a ton of posturing in the scene because you want to seem older and truer. And,
street cred. Yep.
Yeah. So therein lies a tough street to travel on, because when you do love that stuff and you want to play that kind of stuff, there's a lot of like potential posturing to be had there. So I tend to try and perceive that in spots. And if I see anything disingenuous, and if maybe that's your pursuit in like Eternal Champion or something, like I don't give a fuck. I don't want to hear it. So there's a lot there. And yeah, they're probably coasting quite a bit on, their legacy. And I like too, sure, we're going to buy their albums because like that album run of 10 albums had such a great impact on us that, well, you're still buying them. But yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought there. That's what they're doing.
All right. Well, for me, people are, I'm all down with the simplicity. I mean, listen to like Transylvanian Hunger. Most of those songs are just a handful of riffs too. The difference is the way that they are hurled at the listener. I mean, there is a lot of fire and intention in those songs. What changed? Well, it's still the same band. I like the fact that you can still tell, you could play them in a lineup of other bands and pick out Darkthrone instantly. That guitar tone, just the style of the drumming. I mean, there's a lot of stylistic indicators that shows that their style, regardless of where they've been going, is intact. It remains intact. I also greatly respect the idea that it seems like they're just trying to, they're doing this for fun. There's a bit of a tribute going on to their old school, and it sounds like they're having a good time doing it. It's their time where they get together once a year. They co-conspire. They come out of a week or 2 weeks long visit with an album. They do it every year. I like that as well. Are they coasting? I think they probably don't think they are. And maybe they're not. I'm just listening to it as a longtime fan. I mean, Soulside Journey was my first. I bought it blind because it was on Peaceville when it came out, and I've been along for this ride a long time. And I just maybe I'm just tired of 3 riff songs that kind of lumber along and don't really have much to offer, other than the fact that I like the character of the 2 guys in the band. I mean, Fenris is a very vocal, public figure that, is a guy you want to have a beer with at a bar. or talk metal about, because the guy is obviously a lifer, and he's super into this, the mythos and the history and all that stuff. And I mean, are they like Kiss? Are they milking it? I mean, Kiss goes out and plays live and has been playing Destroyer, the whole album Destroyer, for decades. And, Darkthrone doesn't play live, so they're not out milking that crowd. Do I want them to go back and be black metal? I think that's what the fans kind of want. And I think it's kind of cool. They thumb their noses at the fans, but we're not doing that. I mean, they're different people now. I mean, that's fine. It's just, do I like where they've landed? I have a lot of respect for it. And as we're going to get into here, I mean, there's a lot of good elements to this record. So to answer my own question, are they coasting? I don't know how to answer that, other than I just don't know if I'm in the same place they are, listening wise. I want a little bit more motivation, a little bit more fire in these songs. But for what it is, I mean, it's like, it's okay. And when you look at, if this band did not have its legacy behind it, and say this was a brand new band, this is the first Darkthrone record, you pick this up and you buy it, are you going to be blown over by this? No, there's nothing here to knock your socks off. This band has the benefit of decades, of 35 years of making those exciting albums, Soulside Journey, where Fenris was playing crazy technical drum stuff, and they had really killer, awesome death metal riffs. And then the black metal, the cold black metal, that chilling atmospheric. I mean, they've got all those years behind them that makes us keep coming to this. And is it fair? Is it fair to be still dragging your fans along when you're just kind of fucking with them in a lot of ways?
Yeah.
And go ahead.
They're taking that black metal traffic and diverting them to the old school. Like, you need to be paying attention to this stuff by way of us.
Yeah. Right.
I have a quick question there for both of you, actually. Here. So out of the first tier Norwegian scene, who are the bands that you still look forward? Are there any that are coming out with records now that you don't feel let down by, or that you would still anticipate with a greater measure of interest?
I don't know if they're the first wave, but the second wave of the Norwegian bands, at Tulka band, I've liked everything he's done. I think he's kept the spirit of Norwegian black metal musically and ran with it. He writes some killer shit. He keeps it harsh and atmospheric.
But the major names, in the same one that should be considered on the same tier as Darkthrone.
Well, I mean, the obvious one would be Enslaved, but they kind of lost me too. I'm not the world's biggest prog guy. I think they're still great and talented, but I don't care about them really anymore.
Okay, because the reason I thought in terms of a band that's still putting out records,
Satyricon would be another one.
So those examples, I think it's interesting because the question about where they landed, right? But I don't doubt what Enslaved, when they put out a record with, I mean, I'm not a huge, Enslaved fan, but I don't doubt that they're 100% committed to it and not coasting. I don't feel that's at play. So, I wanted to bring that as a contrast in terms of, I think what we're also navigating something different with Darkthrone, not just, where they've landed, the sound they're at, but also the intent, or how much sincerity is within their artwork at this point in time. So I just thought that was in terms of bands that we could consider them directly connected to.
Immortal, I think, is worth bringing up. Their story has been interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the last album, Sans Abath, was great, man. Northern Chaos Gods was great. I enjoyed the shit out of that record.
Impressive way to come out of a weird slump-ish period.
Yeah.
And a new album next year. I bet it'll sound exactly like Northern Chaos Gods.
Good. Perfect. Yeah. Keep the good songs coming. Hey, 68 people. This might be the most people have ever been here on a Wednesday. It just shows we need to pick better, more popular bands, I guess. Which
or just more creative thumbnails. Maybe that was the.
Yeah.
yeah. And honestly, I thought TJ was going to be here tonight, and he was going to be picking, but he's not here. So, one of you guys have a pick for tonight? Think about it at the end, because I have nothing. I just picked this one. So, either Ben or Kellen, go for it. But anyway, yeah, good thoughts there. Is everything? Are we all good on that topic? We're gonna move on. Let's discuss the musicality and composition of Astral Fortress. Kellen.
Pretty simple. Not and I guess doomy, slow to mid-pace stuff for the vast majority of the record. To your point about the vocal style also being kind of, they're playing in a bunch of a lot of middle ground, I could say. Like, it's not true doom metal, it's not true kind of old school metal, it's not black metal. So they are walking a few different lines on this record, and I guess they have been for the past couple. There's an interesting inclusion, I think, in with some synth work and a mellotron on this record as well.
Yep.
So the composition is, I mean, we've already kind of touched on this. There's not a lot of song dynamics going on, not a lot of faster paced, even coming from their like crust punk era. That's not really that present on this record. So it's a lot of sort of slow, plodding, strangely sung, blackened trad. I don't know how to really qualify this in terms of the sound, but it was an odd listen, and probably because it did not cleanly fit somewhere, also became a bit more of a challenge in terms of how to understand it and interpret it.
Yeah.
I do the one redeeming factor is the lyrical content to this record. Fenriz is a smart guy. As much as he's like, kind of is hilarious, he's a really, articulate, smart person. And as a lyricist, when I sat down for like the third time, I did so with the lyrics. And some of his sort of like meditation on aging, I thought was really interesting given the context of our conversation. So some of the lyrics, for example, on Stalagmite Necklace, I thought was really, I can pull up the stanza here, but there's a great imagery. This last year, these pines were not here. Remember when you were wild and restless? You cannot see the forest for the trees, or you cannot see the forest for the fear. I'm sorry. And I thought just that sort of thought process on, I wonder how much of when he's writing lyrics now and thinking about the legacy of this band, going back to our earlier conversation, he's trying to take that into consideration, how he kind of understands Darkthrone, him, how he personally relates to their, sound, their history, and how that's coming out in the lyrics. So there's and the other one that is the Kevorkian Times. I really like the lyrics on that one. So in terms of the composition of the record, it was, I don't know, not that exciting, to be perfectly honest. But when I was able to sit down and realize just how much, Fenriz is sort of putting a lot of effort into writing these songs, it made it a bit more enjoyable. And I got a little bit more insight as to where he's potentially coming from, or where they're both coming from when they're writing these records.
All right. Ben, musicality and composition.
To tail off of that, I do think the lyrics are maybe what seem like they put the most effort into for the whole album. They were pretty interesting, and I don't usually bother to read lyrics, weirdly enough. A lot of thoughts. So I feel like these guys are so seasoned that they're great at little tricks, and it doesn't take them much effort to write what they would consider an okay album. They're pretty smart at like how to transition in and out of parts and how to like arrange a song. I mean, that probably comes pretty naturally to them, but they didn't really write anything worth banging your head to, worth listening to more than 5 or 6 times, or I don't think really worth buying. I get that it's like a study in like, if you want to listen to Darkthrone, we're going to tell you what albums, like we're going to portray what albums we think you should be listening to. It seems like they want to be more of like a conduit to the olden days than like a band that's writing songs about their feelings and thoughts. Right? I feel like it's more like okay, so like the thought I had was like after their black metal muse, I think, left them and they went to like the crust punk thing, they turned into a band that was more like reactionary and like wanting to tell you about other music rather than just like writing what came from the heart or the head or whatever. That
He
was
started
like,
right away. He sold my soul to Manila Road on the was it Cult of True Metal? Is that the name of the song?
Yeah,
I could be
Fuck
wrong.
Off and Die. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they just became like, here's what you should be listening to kind of band. And like I do that on my own. I don't need Fenris to tell me, where to go. Or like Fenris's interviews are awesome. I love consuming him that way. He's an awesome personality. But I'm not gonna buy an album just to like be a gateway to other styles or bands or eras or whatever. So there's a lot of like clever little transitions here and there in the album that I feel like they're seasoned at, and they deserve a little bit of credit for. But yeah, like the parts are just super unspirited, limp-wristed, and I can't really find myself interested in them at all. It's boring. Yeah.
All right. Well, for me, I think if it wasn't for Eternal Hails and Old Star, would I think this album progressed much? No. But the two albums that came before it are so fucking blah, so bland. It sounded to me like two guys that were more wrapped up in the idea of what they're doing. Like Ben said, selling, trying to sell people on the good old bands, that they kind of lost the idea of writing good music on their own. And with this Astral Fortress, I think there's more than 2 riffs per song. There's, like Ben said, there's some really good transitions. These guys are very seasoned musicians. Fenris is a great drummer. He just doesn't let on. He just doesn't. He stopped caring about that long time ago. He didn't like the busy playing and stuff. He even said in multiple interviews he hated playing like that.
Yeah.
Alan, Snark Throne. But this album, I'm hearing a lot of them trying, like actually showing up with some different song structures, songs that go somewhere. They start off on maybe, I think it was The Sea Beneath the Seas of the Sea. I really like the intro. It's very interesting, clean, and then it like the intro actually develops and goes somewhere into that first verse. That first verse is like a culmination of where the songs, there's like good songwriting. It's like, wow, okay, here they are. They can still write interesting ideas, but they just kind of kill it. They about the midway point of that song, they kill it with a very rehashed and tired Celtic Frost riff. I mean, it's just like, okay, we had this really cool build up. We're going somewhere. It's cool. It's not the same thing going back and repeating, but it's just a boring fucking loping along Celtic Frost riff that they've written a million times, So I think there's signs of the band doing some cool stuff on here. There's actually, guitar harmonizations, like a guitar, like a little solo-y riffy type of thing comes over the main. They haven't done that in a long time. I heard that. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear this again, because Ted is quite good at it. He's a good guitar player. He's just been dumbed down over the years to follow this, the theme that they're doing, this kind of uneventful theme that they've been rolling along in. It's kind of cool to hear him throw these simple little guitar lines over the main chord progressions for a little bit of life and flavor. So I do think the musicality and composition improved a lot on Astral Fortress. I mean, that's not saying a ton. Like I said, these two albums here are so fucking boring, but let's discuss the production. And I will say before we get started, the album was produced. They actually went into a studio this time. They didn't record it themselves. It was recorded and mixed in Chaka Khan Studios by Ola Ostadal and Silja Hodgevold. I don't know. We try, but and also Darkthrone also co-produced the album as well. But what do you think of the production, Kellen?
So I really didn't have a problem with the production, but that's probably due to I didn't know exactly what they were going for in terms of sound, right? Like the same kind of confusion I had in terms of what they were aiming for, kind of stunted what I could have potentially sort of interpret their production. So nothing about it offended me. I thought it was a well-produced record. I know going in and getting some additional help with the production this time around was probably a part of that, but I guess a well-produced record. I don't have issues with it, but I have the same kind of like indifference that I do to their songwriting. It sort of went hand in hand for me. So I don't have too much to add here.
Okay, Ben.
Oh, where do I start? There's no bass drum. I can't hear it at all.
It's very flumpy. I mean, it's there. It's just kind of. It's a very live. Go ahead. I have comments on the drums, but go ahead.
So just as an aside, like there's a lot of Darkthrone reissues that have Fenris's commentary over them, and that really, like, I guess, reinvigorated my love for the band. And I went back and listened to a lot of their albums because of that. And he talks about his drum sound on some of the older albums. So I'm surprised that his drums on this album sound dead and boring. I get that's like the 70s thing or whatever, but like Uriah Heep's drums sound a lot better than this. You can hear kick drums. So I think the drums sound very average, and he's playing kick drum, but it's just not there. I can't hear it. The guitar tone sounds like you plugged in a $35 guitar pedal and hit rock, and that's it. Didn't adjust a thing. I think it sounds generic and awful. I hate the vocals. I don't think the vocals are that sucks. That's an element of this album that I would rather not be there.
No real Fenris at all on this record. Whereas he would have a couple of his own songs he would sing on the the albums leading up, and now it's just kind of like all Culto, and that's, unless Culto goes back to the screaming, it's not a good choice.
He does the sea beneath the seas of the sea.
Yeah.
You're joking, right? I'm falling for this. No, I'm not fucking falling for this.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, the levels are fine. That's not hard to do. But yeah, the vocals are stupid. The drums sound like shit. The guitars are cheap. So it sounds okay. It's not hard to make that sound like whatever. Sucks.
All right. Well, for me, I thought the production was an improvement, which again isn't saying a lot. The drums, other than the flat, frumpy sounding kick drums, I actually like the drum kit sound. It's very live. Again, very 70s. It's a very live drum sound. It isn't all triggered up and clicky and whatever. It's got just a room vibe, good rock vibe to it. The guitars didn't bother me. The bass was a little flat. There is bass lines. You listen, I can hear the bass notes, but there isn't a lot of bass resonance. It's just kind of a sonic indentation of a bass going on there. The guitars didn't bother me. It sounds like no matter what they do, whether they record it themselves, Fenris records it on a 4-track in his rehearsal space / living room. It always sounds like Darkthrone, which is a testament to their playing style and their ear for setting up their gear. Love it or hate it. If you don't like the guitars, if you don't like the sound, you're going to probably struggle with a lot of Darkthrone because that's kind of what all their shit sounds like. But I do think this production was a lot more polished without losing. It sounds to me like a polished demo. Whereas the albums leading up to it are very demo-ish sounding. You could tell they recorded it themselves. This sounds like they recorded a demo in a studio. Not saying much more good or bad about it. It's just kind of the way it goes. It didn't bother me. It's a little bit brighter than the last couple albums, which helped highlight the riffs and the material a little bit more. And I will say, Culto's vocals right out front on this record are he's kind of going back to the Tom Warrior style. He's trying to sound a little more like Tom Warrior. I hear a lot of Celtic Frost in his voice on this, which is a range he likes. But leading up to this, it was different. His vocal style in Sarka as well is very, just not good. It's so grating. I almost prefer the more Tom Warrior vibe, but still, the vocals kind of help kill this record in a lot of ways for me. But let's talk about least favorite songs. Kellen.
Okay, so the opener, Caravan of Broken Ghosts, is a favorite, and I'll go with Kevorkian Times as well. So both of them have some lead up before they pick up the pace. So there is some degree of dynamic push in those songs. In terms of least favorite, I don't know. The Sea Beneath the Seas of the Sea. Ridiculous title. It's sort of this slow build. It's the longest track on this album, and it gets to the midpoint, and you're waiting for it to culminate into something, and it just kind of goes through the motions for another 4 minutes. So in that one, it felt like a missed opportunity for me on this.
Agreed.
Record.
Right. It's the centerpiece of the whole album. And
it's 10 minutes long.
Nailed it.
They started off with so positive, and then it goes, here's this Celtic Frost riff. We don't know what to do here. We're not used to writing beyond 2 riffs anymore.
Yeah, it felt like they ran out of ideas, or you got caught on stage and you didn't know the rest of the song, so you just kind of improv and played the same thing for another 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have an analogy I think is gonna be funny and make a lot of sense. Have you ever seen an ad for a game on your phone, and it shows someone playing the game bad, and it's supposed to make you want to go, no, here's how you do it, right? So I feel like when Darkthrone makes a bad choice here, it makes you buy the next album because maybe they figured it out this time.
That's I bought this one. Sounded like they knew what they were doing again, like it was coming around.
You'll get a little taste of the next album, and you'll think, "Oh, they're back! They did it!"
Yeah,
and then they didn't totally fail, but maybe they'll do it next time.
All right. Were you done with your list there, Kellen?
Yeah, I'm good with my least favorite. I think we nailed it there.
Okay. Ben.
I think Caravan of Broken Ghosts is probably the best way to open the album. It's probably the best song on the album. I would maybe say the Sea of the Sea of the Sea of the Sea of the Sea would be the best one if it didn't just have that total just let down part where you expect it to have the final fireworks and it doesn't happen. I think Caravan of Broken Ghosts is the best one. So it sucks that there's this, it's a front-loaded record that drags you along and never finishes you off until it's just over with.
Right. All right.
So I looked up the reviews for this album last night. I was like, a lot of times I want to hear somebody else's perspective. Am I the only one who thinks this sucks? and I couldn't find anything less than a glaring review of this album, at least on YouTube. And I can't believe it.
Yeah.
This is my favorite band.
Yeah. All right. Well, for me, favorite songs. Obviously, we've established "Caravan of Broken Ghosts." There's a reason why they released that first. Definitely the best song on the album. It's the most lively. It's got, obviously the most time invested in composition. I really like "Impeccable Caverns of Satan's" as well. I mean, at least the first half of it, it's good. The second half, it starts to drag. They put their best ideas up front of these songs, and they kind of like fudge the rest of it. It's like, well, I've got half of this song. We showed up. We have a week to knock this record out. We'll just go whatever. Decent start. Peters out. Stalagmite necklace. The thing that makes this song kind of cool is the riff style, and it's something that kind of permeates the whole album. I like the main riff. It doesn't resolve when you think it should. They're writing longer riffs here. So the longer phrases like this makes the song feel more spacious, and they get a little bit more mileage out of one riff instead of changing every one measure, two measures. It goes for four. It's kind of cool how they stretch that out. I really like the Mellotron melody line that comes in, very eerie, kind of cool, gives the song a little bit more feel, a little more vibe. The Sea Beneath the Seas of the Sea. Interesting intro and growth from that musical piece into the opening verse of the song. A lot of emotion. Some guitar harmonizing, yes. Then the Celtic Frost riff detract from the overall evolution of the track, which is true. I mean, the song was going somewhere, and all of a sudden they don't. They just turn left field into boredom. So I mean, that had so much potential to be the best song on the album. They finished it themselves. But yeah, it's a front heavy album for me as well. Better. It's better. They got me on the hook again. Let's talk about Judgment. Final thoughts, Kellen.
Yeah, like it was a challenge this week for sure. I don't know. I was trying to think of an album that we've come across so far that has felt this strange for me.
Voivod.
Well, right,
because you talked for an hour about how great that record was at the end, and I don't like it.
Right, but I don't. It's not that, right? It's for me. This is something that I'm not. I don't like. I can, in some objective way, appreciate that Killing Technology, and I don't feel that way about this record. I'm not that into it, and I don't understand for people who, outside of them being completely committed to wanting to support this band and everything that they mean to the community. Like, I understand at that level, if you love Darkthrone, everything that they like promote, the kind of personalities they are, if you're getting into this kind of music, they're great people to kind of like learn about. So in that sense, like, I feel if you are committed, I can understand people picking this up like you did, Marty, because that probably to some degree is how you feel about them.
Yeah.
But yeah, this felt lackluster, and the entire time I was listening to it, I spent more of my energy trying to interrogate things surrounding the band rather than the record itself. Which is probably a sign that it's not a record that you love. It's that I didn't enjoy it that much. But if you want to talk about Darkthrone and what they mean to metal today and those things of that nature, there are a few bands you can talk about them in the same breadth and length that you can with Darkthrone. So yeah, not if I see it in a record store, I'm going to pass. I'm not picking it up, but it was an interesting point of discussion, I think, this week, because it is, I think, as we get older, and we've bands that we love potentially, like, you know, both of you love this band, it's something that you're kind of confronted with at some point in time.
Yeah.
So it was cool to at least, you know, bring to the table for us to talk about.
Right on. Ben.
I feel like the bands that we love the most usually are bands who just died suddenly and left us with a great legacy behind them, or just like stopped at the perfect time, like At the Gates should have broke up after Slaughter of the Soul and never came back. But bands that just languish on and keep on, just like rolling down the funereal hill, if you will. It's just like, it's so boring, and it's so like, I'm not going to reflect upon them well when they finally call it a day, I guess. But this band is huge, so I feel like they can float on that level of success and please your pedestrian black metal fans or whatever, with mediocre albums. But when it comes to people who love them for what they were 30 years ago, like us, you're not gonna get this one by me, at least. So I would give this, I think I'm being nice, calling it a 6 out of 10, maybe. Wouldn't buy it. Haven't bought. I bought Old Star, and I kind of went through the same process with that as I did. Well, I bought that one and I liked it, but if I listened to it, I listened to it probably 3 times tops.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't care. So like, by the time you buy one of their albums, you decide, am I going to keep this? They've got another one coming, and they distract you with another album. So I don't know, if they waited maybe like 5 years or 10 years, and I heard someone say this one is actually really good, I might listen to it. But yeah, anymore, I'm just sick of like having mediocre thoughts about my favorite band. You know, it sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, final thoughts. Like, I didn't want to have to shit on this band this much, but man, when you put out an album like this, that's what you're gonna get. No way around it.
All right. Well, for me, this has been a process. It's been ever since they, you know, starting with that Too Old Too Cold EP, which had a couple good songs on it, and then Cult is Alive. Right then and there, the writing was kind of on the wall for me. Every album ever since then, I listen to a lot for a week, never touch them again. It's kind of the way it is. And it's just getting to the point now. I mean, yes, I think Astral Fortress is a step up from the last 2 records. I've established that. But I just think I'm in the part of my fandom for this band that I think I want more for them than they want for themselves. But the thing that's the problem is they're not getting chastised for putting out mediocre to bad albums. They're not. There's so many people. I mean, like Ben said, he was hunting for a bad review on this. People are still coming out saying how great they are, how great this stuff is. It really isn't. It isn't. I mean, if you like the Darkthrone sound, that's one thing you can say that this album and the other, they've always sounded like Darkthrone. No matter what style they're fucking with, they still sound like Darkthrone. They've never deviated from their core essence. They've changed their style. They've changed their attitude. Again, that's fine. 100% fine. They can do whatever the fuck they want. And then with so much praise and such a big fan base behind them, I'm sure someone said that, you know, Darkthrone's probably a cash cow for Peaceville. It's probably true.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if the sales were dropping and they got dropped by their label, maybe it would be a wake-up call to do something different or stop. And I mean, positive reinforcement. Oh, great. You're surrounded by yes men and people that love your record that are justifying spending $25, $30, $35 for a record. You're going to listen to it and say, yeah, I like this. Yeah, I like this. Yeah, I like this because I spent so much money for it. I mean, there's that justification that everybody does every once in a while when you spend too much money for an import record or whatever. But again, I think 6 is a solid rating. It's a step up. I might be done after this one, but I'm not going to say that I am, because at one point they were a favorite band of mine too. I used to worship Culto's vocals. I loved his black metal vocal style. It was just so fucking miserable and desperate and harsh, and he abandoned it. And it's kind of, I still keep waiting for, I mean, I don't expect Darkthrone to be a black metal band again. That's just unrealistic.
Yeah.
But I do want them to use the skills I know they have and write something substantial, write good songs, break up the tempos a little bit. This whole album is one long, every song is the same tempo wise. They just never deviate. And I know they're both great players. They've shown that on earlier Darkthrone records, and Culto was in Satyricon on Nemesis Divina, one of my favorite Satyricon records, playing crazy fucked up technical riffs. These guys have got the tech, they've got the chops to do that. And they just need to Alan, it's not me, Darkthrone, it's you. Yes, it's true. But yeah, so I like I said, I think I want more for Darkthrone than they want for themselves right now. But you know, y'all keep rewarding them. I did. I'll probably never listen to this record again, and now it's gonna sit on my shelf, and my kid will have to deal with it when I'm dead and gone. So there's that. So yeah, 6 out of 10 for me, probably being a little bit that's being a bit generous, but better. It was an improvement. I'm excited to see if they can continue on with adding more shit to their songwriting, because there's a lot of room for growth in the songwriting department. They won't do it. They won't do it. It's going to be another album that sounds just like this, and telling us how, again, I just don't remember, reading older things where Fenris is saying, oh, this riff is like our Agent Steel riff. And I'm thinking, was Agent Steel ever this boring? No. I remember those thrash speed metal albums being completely exciting and amazing. And I just think the ideas that go in and the things that they think they're being influenced by do not translate to the final product. You can say that's an Agent Steel riff all day. I don't fucking hear it, because it's not played the same. It's just not the same. Anyway, do they have the skills though? They've always written simple music. Sometimes simple music. Like I said, Transylvanian Hunger, not a complex album. It's just the fire behind it, the intensity, the intention behind it is what sells that record. And there's some cool, catchy riffs here and there on that. So, I mean, simple is fine. I mean, listen to Burzum. That early Burzum stuff is all simple lines weaved together, and it just works. It just works. And it's just past the point of being exciting. It's just not there. They just don't have the excitement anymore. But yeah, I could keep going on and on and on. I'm rambling. Sorry, everybody. But
this horse is dead.
It did. To the glue factory, Trigger. But yeah, so that's it. Like I said, I thought TJ was going to be here tonight. He wanted to pick some stuff, and he's not here. So either you guys have something you want to pick for next week. Kellen's not going to be here next week, but he will pick something. Oh boy, I gotta pee. We're supposed to get 2 feet of snow this weekend.
We're getting a lot.
All right,
here it goes. Here we go. Let me get you up here.
Close to me here. So this is the most recent release, another 22 release by Miscreants.
I was almost gonna pick that.
Okay, well, good call then.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How do you spell that?
I can write it in the comments there for you afterwards to make it easier. But
I have a copy.
If you can't tell by that font,
no, I can see the M and the E.
Yeah.
And I said this to Marty, and I know he listened to a couple tracks, but I have only listened to like 2 songs on it.
Okay.
I think it's time we deserve a killer, and I think that might be it.
That's the one, huh?
You want to know what my maybe pick was going to be?
What? Yeah. Little Satan's almighty penis.
That was fun. I feel bad shitting on an album for an hour, but hey, That's what you get.
Kellen is typing his dissertation as opposed to a song title. Did you send it?
Yeah, it's in the comments there.
It is?
It should
Yep.
be.
That's it. I promise it's there.
There it is. Miscreants Convergence. All right, everybody. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. A lot of people showed up tonight. Almost 70 people. Great. Thank you so much. It's good having you on. And I realize also too, I think a lot of people are getting time off from work because it's the big holiday season. But show notes this weekend, Friday, we are doing what we want for Christmas. It's going to be a Christmas special. I know Rick from the Dreadful Minutes is going to be on, and maybe Melanie Loves Death Metal. She might be on. I don't know if that's been confirmed or not, so she might not be here, but Alan, of course, and myself and all of you, hopefully. And cheers to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Kellen, Ben, you guys are amazing as always. Thank you. And we'll see you next week, everybody. Cheers. Miscreants, Convergence. Do your homework.
Yeah.
Oh, Melanie can't make it. Well, we'll catch her next time. It'll be Rick and me and Alan. It'll be good. But anyway, cheers, everybody. We'll see you later. Thanks.